Good morning. Last day, best day, right? So I'm so excited that we have the chance to do these asset size roundtables this morning because this is a roundtable and I want to make sure that everybody gets the best content out of this. If you wouldn't mind, please coming towards the front of the room so we could facilitate discussion. And I encourage you to sit with somebody that you don't know as well. And while everybody is getting situated, I wanted to thank our generous sponsor for today's event and also our sponsor through the Small Credit Union Summit series, Corporate America Credit Union. And we have Miss Lisa Coffey, who is here to say a few words. Thank you, Lisa.
Good morning, everyone. Hope y'all had fun last night. I saw a lot of y'all having fun last night. I wanted to start this morning off just to kind of get your mind thinking a little bit about what's changing our industry that we're seeing. And the big thing is the five trends that are changing the financial institution, especially for our credit unions, that I thought you'd really find interesting. The first one is 57% of consumers would consider banking with Apple, Amazon, or another non-traditional financial institution, 57%. 40% of consumers are likely to leave their primary financial institution for a digital banking that compares to online shopping. 56% of consumers prefer a community financial institution, but say their digital offerings are not meeting their needs. 75% of Americans are more likely to be loyal to a company that delivers a personalized experience. And finally, which is the one that's most haunting to me, is the quote that they hear too often. And this is from Financial Brand. If you subscribe to their daily newsletters and stuff, highly recommend it. I would love to do business with my local credit union, but its digital banking just isn't as good as larger banks. That's 47% of consumers. So we've got a lot to think about if you look at the trends and what consumers want and need. One of the things that corporate America has really strived to do and are striving to do is we treat all asset size credit unions the same. We are developing 2 products for smaller asset size credit unions to be able to afford to get into the digital banking experience. We have a online loan pay solution that some of you are even beta testing for us today. And we also have the real-time payments access to the network. We're working with small credit union core systems to get them connected to the real-time payment network and FedNow. And I encourage you to think about these trends. I'm happy to send them to you if you want to share them with everyone. I think it's real important for our future. Thank y'all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. And as always, we appreciate the partnership and everything you do at Corporate America Credit Union. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and kick off today. As you will see, we've presented a few topics for discussion, but I also want to make sure that we save a good portion of the time to discuss how we can bring in-person meetings like this together again and what regional events would work best for your credit unions. So we are going to start off with, just by a show of hands, who in here is from a Florida credit union? Lots of Florida. Okay, what about our Georgia folks? Okay, and how about Alabama? All right, so I'm glad to see that we have a good mix in here in the room today. We will be walking around the room and passing the mic around. So if you have a response, a question, a comment, please raise your hand and we will come over with the mic to you. Lucky for y'all, I am not on the stage today because yesterday in this room, I learned it's pretty blinding to see people in the audience when you're up there. So I appreciate your patience. So topic number 1 is really discussing the changes in member needs, really close to what Lisa had mentioned from the top. Overall, we're seeing that the average home buying age continues to increase, and that even what we've seen with supply chain issues in our auto lending, as well as inflation is really upticking those prices as well. So as we've seen such a difference in the needs of members, generational differences, and even as we start to really focus on lifestyle marketing as well and segmenting your membership through those data points. So are there any sort of life cycle products that you all have implemented at your credit unions, maybe specific marketing campaigns for certain segments of your members? Or anything new that you were interested in exploring? What about in general? How about, are there any new loan products that y'all have really seen a lot of success with this last year? Or different ways that you maybe marketed the same product that you've had that really picked up on some traction?
Offer instant issue debit cards that are fully digital.
Great question. I heard a looking into it over here.
Who are you looking into it with? Leverage has a digital instant issue.
I actually work with Fiserv, so it would be a Fiserv product.
Okay.
But how are you? It's good to see you. I believe we were talking to Josh the other day, but the information he sent to me, I'll be happy to send, but we're getting a lot of requests for it. With everybody now into Apple Pay, that's becoming a new thing for a lot of our younger members, but honestly, a lot of the older members are getting more into it after COVID. So we're seeing a shift. And with that product that we're looking into, it would be where as soon as they open their account, they would get like a secure email, and that would have the card, and they do an authentication process, but they would have that information immediately. So if the vendor, they went to Walgreens next door, their card would work immediately. And then eventually they would get those cards. And some people are opting not to even get the card. They don't want the card anymore. So.
And that's what we're getting a lot of requests for. And a lot of people are asking for that. That way, if they're on a trip or a vacation and they have fraud, a member service person can get it instantly. And that puts us more on a level playing field with the larger credit unions and banks and everything else. So
Absolutely. We're seeing the same trend right now. And I think it's going to be very important in the next couple of years to be ahead of it.
and have any of y'all done one-click loans where you just push them out to all your members and give them the opportunity just to click on the one click inside their online banking? You know, you screen it with the credit bureaus to see if that's a product they want.
We're not doing one-click loans, but we have it through our online banking that they can apply through, and it is a pretty seamless process.
Yeah, we're pushing out a one-click product that we scrubbed with the credit bureaus that we do through A paper, and we can mesh it a little bit because we scrub our ACH data. We look at it to see who's using the buy here, pay here, or payday lenders, or pawn shops, not even in our area, because we actually don't have any in our area, but they have to travel 50 miles to get to one. But we see that they're making the payments to them and trying to help break that cycle. It's an easy market hit just by looking at your ACH data.
It sounds amazing, but we're not quite there with that. So whatever.
Okay.
We just we have a Fiserv, and we just did Originate, and we're seeing a lot of traction with opening checking accounts through that product as well, because it's through our online banking and they can apply, and then someone immediately is responding back to them through that. So we're seeing a lot of traction instead of having to call member services. So I don't know if anyone else is doing that.
We're looking at that. We're about ready to turn it on. We're just making a forms change for it.
Yeah. It's been really a great product for us for new accounts through online.
What core are you on?
We're Portico.
Portico. I have another question for y'all. I'm sorry, I'm full of questions and I can't help it. So, and if I cuss, it's not rude. It's just my southern accent. No, it's not that kind. It's not meant to be that way. Does anybody in here have ITMs? All right, I'm going to ask a different question then. Does anybody have deposit taking ATMs?
Okay, so we have one over here.
Okay, well, I have a question for that too. So sorry. You're going to throw something at me, aren't you, Susan?
The previous credit union I was at, we had deposit taking ATMs envelope free.
Okay.
So what's the question?
Do you stack your machines with different types of money, like hundreds, 20s, fives, and ones?
We did 50s, 20s, 10s, and 5s.
Okay. How did it go?
You could put whatever denomination you wanted as long as the vendor, co-op, for example, coded that
Oh, yes, ma'am.
being.
Well, see, we did it, and I'm having a hard time believing that switching to an ITM would be the right thing for us, because 78% of our teller transactions are now through those deposit-taking ATM machines, just because they have the choice. They can bank when they want to bank. They can do their business when they want to do it. So it's just making it easier from that standpoint. And I didn't know if y'all were looking at that as a cost savings item versus going to an ITM.
Well, we originally was thinking about the ITM, but our busiest branch, we would probably stock about 75,000 in it a week, cash.
Yes, ma'am.
And we would do thousands of dollars, almost a day in deposits.
Yes, ma'am.
So personally, from my experience, unless you were trying to stick that ITM in a place where you had absolutely no branch, I would just get the envelope free ATM. I mean, they're
I
already
agree with you
about
wholeheartedly, but
55,000.
salespeople try to tell us all differently. So I'm just curious what everybody in
Yeah.
the room's thinking. So.
Yeah, I would, if you had plenty of branches, I would just do the envelope free ATMs. And I mean, it's easy.
Oh, it works great.
Yeah.
We have 7 of them. I think 7 of them at this standpoint. So,
Gotcha.
and do any of y'all tailor your cash withdrawals on your ATM cards or debit cards? We morphed ours so that, like, our members that travel or members that need to get extra money, they can, like with the deposit taking, the NCRs, the throat on it will actually dispense 40 bills, and
Right.
the highest songs will dispense 50.
Right.
So a member could actually get between $4,000 and $5,000 if they were going out of town with their ATM on the weekend or on the nights or mornings or anything. And we've seen a larger usage of our debit cards, people withdrawing cash as they need to, as they're traveling or for other things at that standpoint.
Well, I can answer that. I know at the height of the pandemic, we permanently increased, this was at my prior credit union, from 500 to 1,000 at the ATM, worked fine. And again, as you mentioned, you can only get so many bills out at a time.
Yes, ma'am.
So we would just let the member know, hey, if you needed the full 1,000, just do 2 $500 transactions. It was very rare that we would let members, set their ATM limit higher than 1,000. But if they needed it, we're on co-op. So you can go in there and temporarily increase their
Yes, ma'am.
ATM limit and they could get it out just as long as they did it, say in $500
Oh, yes, ma'am.
increments. So.
Yeah, we've done it for a lot of different members across the spectrum, and it's worked really well at that standpoint. And it seemed to help get better member retention at that standpoint.
Great segue into our next topic then. So when we talk about credit union growth and how we continue to attract new members and ensure that we continue to be their number one choice in financial services, we know that the needs of consumers are different than they were even before the pandemic. And that change is continuing to evolve even more rapid every single day. So is there anything that y'all are doing as far as membership campaigns, maybe attracting new members? How are we keeping up? I know some of you had some fantastic membership growth this year too.
I'm gonna ask a question though that's
Yeah.
gonna slightly change
This
your
is
question.
perfect.
So sorry.
Yes.
How many people in here do shared branching? Okay, so recently we're running into some issues with shared branching and our members being asked a few questions by those larger credit unions and, changing their membership over. So how are you guys keeping those members, retaining those members? We tried complaining to shared branching and they said that we needed our members to file a formal complaint, which our members aren't going to do because they've moved on, So What are you guys doing?
Is that for people trying to steal shared service?
Angelique?
Yeah, I totally agree. Credit union I formerly worked at, we were an acquirer and an issuer. You do have to make sure you train your staff not to solicit other members, because that isn't, that's a problem. Right.
Again, it's the larger credit unions that are just asking a few
That's right. Right.
as our members go into their lobby.
And if those questions, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's always a workaround and stuff, but I do feel like we're all, buying for the same member. Some of our members are members at each other's credit union.
Of course.
So my thing is, just out of respect, you just shouldn't do it. If it's a share branching person, handle that transaction, move on. And if they choose to, then if the member asks questions, it's nothing you can really do about that. But I don't think you should even ask questions to, because that's still kind of swaying.
Right. It's the other guy. Yeah.
But it's funny you bring up share branching. My issue with share branching is we're a said group inside. Well, we're in our sponsor group location, so we don't have branches outside. My issue is our members. A lot of the other credit unions are pulling back on what they're willing to do for the member, and so that was one reason. Once I moved to this credit union that I'm at now, we increased our ATM withdrawal limits. The membership, has a little bit more dispensable income. So they want to pull out more than $1,000.
Yep.
And when we try to send them to the ATM, they got a $500 limit. So we found ourselves trying to increase. If that member calls and said, well, I really needed $2,000. In that case, we will increase their ATM limit and just say, go outside and use the ATM.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing we need to look at is what networks we participate in, because we're a healthcare credit union. So there's a lot of nurses taking these contract travel nursing positions, and they want to know, well, how do I access my funds if I'm in California or wherever? And previously it was shared branching. We have X amount of branches because we participate in shared branching. But now we're almost afraid to talk about shared branching because, no joke, it's been 10 members in the last 2 months that have gone to other credit unions and have been asked a few questions about how easy it is to bank with them. And, they've switched over their banking to those larger credit unions. So it's very unfortunate.
Well, Arno brought me the mic. I don't know if he wanted me to say something. I guess we're not in shared service, but I've been in a credit union before that was. I know there used to be some fines according to that. So you should be able to go back on that if the member is verifying that with you.
And honestly, we've tried. We've taken it to shared branching, but we are a small little shareholder in shared branching. So they're not willing to fine these larger credit unions when they run the business of shared branching.
You need to walk up the ladder.
And unfortunately, the credit union has a board member. So our struggle is ongoing.
And I want to thank everybody for being so candid and participating so far. I will say that everybody is much more chatty than your directors were in the directors roundtable, so I appreciate it. Oh, okay. So what about when it comes to community involvement? Have you found new ways to interact with your membership base and your community post-pandemic? Or have you kept it exactly the same? Maybe not quite out there yet. Thomas, yes, sir.
We do, like lots of places, the random acts of kindness. We do T-shirts to our schools. This year we did 34 high school scholarships between our 3 high schools for a total of $17,000. And unlike the decline on dot 3 up there, Our membership growth is still growing at about 100 members, between 97 and 100 members a month that are coming to us from the local banks and that in our area. I mean, our thing is we challenge every employee, no matter what we have going on, to do a random act of kindness, whether it's buying somebody's meal in front of you at line or going by one of the local schools and paying a lunch bill for a student that can't afford to do it. Giving a little bit of your time and leading by example is the easiest thing, because the greatest way to affect somebody is actually be there. It doesn't matter if it's a mom and pop business, a one person show, or if you know that business is doing business with Wells Fargo and they're opening a new branch, we still go visit them and see them and just do everything that we can do. It doesn't matter what it is or how little it is. And I'll use us as an example. We've grown from 26 million in the past 8 years to we're 95 million now. And we are in the most rural 2 counties in the state of Florida. And I'm sure the people in Georgia and Alabama can laugh with me and feel my pain on this. Our one county has 1 red light. Our other county has 3 red lights. So if that tells you anything, I mean, and we're dealing with Bank of America, Ameris, People South, and Centennial. So, and then all the Fintechs on top of the phone. My thing is you don't quit. It doesn't matter where you're at. And Mr. Eric knows me. I'll be in Tallahassee and I'll still pay for people's lunch behind me. And I don't leave our card or anything else. I may leave a t-shirt for somebody, but we buy t-shirts now at $30,000 bundles at a time just to give out through our communities during the year. So, and we started out with a t-shirt budget of $500 a few years ago. So, and it's not for the employees to wear, it's for the members to wear and interact with them. The one thing that I will tell you, do not, this is the best advice I can actually give you. Whatever you do, do not put your name on an ice chest or a Yeti. And Miss Susan's laughing, but I'll tell you why. A few years ago, there was a wreck with in one of the rural counties in the Panhandle of some teenagers that had been drinking. Beside their wreck was an ice chest with an institution's name on it. That is brutal for the institution. There is no coming back from that. So the one thing I would tell you, never put your name on an ice chest, because you can't come back from that.
I think how you reach out to people, and I haven't been here long, you can tell from the way I speak, I'm not from here, is, especially with younger people, through our channels of delivery, how we allow them to interact with us. Somebody yesterday in one of the sessions said that paying people more and the technology investments are just table stakes to play in the game, but I think they're actually the game, because everything else is just money. Everybody's got savings, checking, debit, credit. How you let people interact with you and what you do to be forward on that is how we're going to attract them. Anybody under 30, 35, maybe even 40 now lives in their phone and their tablet. Everything is there. We have to find all the different ways, and we're still talking about it. Banks and big credit unions are doing it. And I think the shared branching question earlier, the large credit unions and the banks, of course, but the credit unions that are part of shared branching don't see the value as much anymore because they've got the tech. They've already invested in it. Their members can go anywhere and do business with them through their phone, through their tablet, through their ATM network that they bought into. We all have to play in the same pool. So we've got to invest in that. This is my 4th credit union. Apparently I can't hold a job. And it's been the same thing everywhere you go. Our membership is aging. We want to attract younger people, but we talk too long about how we're going to do it instead of investing in it. That is the game, in my opinion. I've got a board member here that probably disagree with me, so I'm going to give him the mic next.
I don't disagree with my CEO because he said this is his fourth credit union. This will be the last one.
Love it. Love it. And John, I saw some heads nodding around the room while you were speaking too. Okay, so on our next topic then, there's been a lot of talk in the industry about junk fees and really ensuring, the NSF issues that we're seeing. We know that our NSF and overdraft protection programs work. There's no sense in changing what's not broken, right? And we know how valuable and important that income is as well. As we all know, we saw a significant drop of this throughout the pandemic, starting to come back slowly. But now we're getting really, really hit with a lot of messaging around some banks and even larger credit unions across the country that are eliminating some of these fees. So is this something that's been on your mind, an area of concern, or what other ways have you supplemented, maybe even throughout the pandemic, that you found to supplement your income?
Well, we haven't done anything as it relates to changing our fee structure at this point. But what we have to recognize is that even though the banks are telling their customers that they have done away with their NSF or their overdraft courtesy pay, they're only allowed 6 courtesy pays a year in a bank. So that's not a big deal for them. What they have done is most of the large banks and many of the large credit unions have gone to a negative balance fee. So that 3 days, if your account has been in the negative for 3 days, they hit you up with a fee that was as big as the NSF or the courtesy pay fee.
Get around.
So that's how they are hiding the fact and trumpeting that, hey, listen, we're the good guys. We've done away with NSFs and courtesy pay. They are getting them in another way.
Arno got me one. We haven't done anything. We haven't gotten rid of any fees or changed that. But what I do want to ask is, has anybody in the room gone to a fee-based checking to look at getting around this, like using that income to supplement any kind of overdrafts that we're not going to charge in the future? I know some bigger credit unions are going to the fee base, and also the banks and larger credit unions that are saying they're getting rid of overdraft fees, they're just restructuring all their accounts. So they're definitely still getting the money. So if anybody tries to say that, I just tell them it's not really, you're going to get feed. So has anybody gone to a fee base? Are they thinking about going to a fee base? Because I know we're all small credit unions in here. So that's my question.
No, we haven't went to a fee-based checking account, but what we did do is we turned on ACH pre-post. We allow the member to post their ACH deposit 2 days early. There's a fee of $10. We did some research in-house on it. We realized if we turned that on, the number of members that were going overdraft, it was just before their paycheck was hitting. We didn't advertise it to anybody. We just turned it on in our online banking. We saw a minor decrease in our overdraft fees, but we saw a significant increase in the ACH pre-post. And as of the first part of this year, the first 5 months, we've actually made over $36,000 in ACH pre-post, but our overdrafts have went down by about 50,000. I'm good with our overdraft fees going down and helping the member control and learn a little bit more about how to save money and make money. But it's always hard to break somebody's habit that they've been doing that for years. So we're just trying to come up with a different solution. We always give the free account. We only charge, and we've been doing this for several years now, if they want a paper statement. It's just because postage is going up so much at that standpoint.
Fantastic ideas, and this is what it's all about. So to encourage these ideas to continue to flow, we do have a few surprises for some free webinars as well. So be thinking about some of the other things your credit union has completed the next year. Anything else on income or checking accounts?
I just wanted, I hope it's okay.
Yes, please, Lisa.
So I've done a lot of research on this and on the fee base, and I just wanted to caution. So I know you see a lot on the TV on Regions Bank, Chime especially, they tend to push the envelope for financial institutions. But if you read the fine print, Chime is only up to $200, right? So it's not free money, and they charge a monthly fee for that overdraft, or spot me is what they call it. Bank of America is the same way. They charge for it. The thing we need to keep in mind is consumers are willing to pay for it. So just like Thomas's example, maybe it makes sense to push our members in a positive way to not be in the negative, and they pay for it instead of paying for it in a negative way because they're overdrawn, right? Even though you're still going to have the paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I don't even understand the 2 days early, because that's only 2 days early the first time, not every time after. Then you're paid every Wednesday instead of every Friday. But I would caution you to look. I go in, I open accounts, I read the fine print. I have 1 million accounts that I close. I would caution you to look at that. And I would also encourage you to go on Chime and open account and see if how you open account is as easy as it is on Chime. Because I will be willing to bet we're not up to par yet, but we will be. That's all I got.
And when I did say fee-based, I meant like the fee-based with added value, like some of the vendors do, like they add the LifeLock and things like, I mean, it's not LifeLock, but it's a similar product. So I didn't know if anybody was thinking about doing stuff like that. So you're getting the fee income, but you're letting your member know it's added value. So I've been thinking about it lately, and I just didn't know if anybody else had either.
We haven't, but in the council meeting on Tuesday, there was a small credit union from Georgia. I don't see him in the room, and he did away with overdrafts. It's $5 fee a month. He included LifeLock. I think that was the only service. They were looking at adding something else, but he said it was still too early for him to tell. But he didn't grandfather in anybody. Everybody went to a fee-based account. So we haven't, but it was a good idea, I guess. I don't know if the fees will cover it for him.
Gotcha, Eric. 1 second.
Thank you. In relation to the prepaying the ACH deposits, we've been talking about doing it for a couple of years, and we were of mixed minds as to whether or not we were going to implement it. Recently, at a board of directors meeting, we had a board member ask why we weren't doing it. I said, well, we just haven't pulled the trigger yet. We haven't recommended it. I said, let's talk about it. I said, because you do understand exactly what you said. It's only good the first time. That's 12 days in between paydays, but it's a perception thing. And for us in our market, it's a competitive disadvantage if we don't offer it. So rather than being a competitive advantage, like if we were the first credit union to do it, then kudos to us. But right now, we are actually getting ready to institute that probably in about 2 months.
I'm on NACHA's board and on the risk advisory committee. So NACHA rules do state you don't post before, right? So all I'll say is that you have it in your board approval or supervisory minutes that you accept that risk, and you have it on your risk assessment. That way for your ACH audit, you're covered, because it's really little to no risk for you to do that. And it is a perception thing. So that was just little, very, very small thing. Just put it in your minutes that your management has decided to accept that risk.
What about the other side of this equation? Any creative ways that your credit union has been able to manage expenses or find creative ways to cut on costs when there's only so much flexibility?
I know y'all are gonna get tired of hearing from me. We actually do things a little bit different. Our collections are done with our core. I admit that I am from the South and I am from a very rural community. So we're not as quick as a lot of city folks are, but our back office, our ACH posting, all of that is done by a $10 million credit union out of Spokane, Washington. They do all of that for us. And we use a fractional CFO that 4 other credit unions use. So, and she's actually a certified public accountant. So instead of us having to bear the full expense of a full-time A1 CFO, we actually use somebody that multiple other credit unions do for just a few hours a week. And it's taken a lot of pressure off of state and NCUA examinations as we continue to move towards the CECL item and the different things there, because when examiners and regulators and auditors go to sit down or have a conversation with somebody that is a full-fledged CPA like the larger institutions have, it's amazing how the conversation changes so quickly at that standpoint. So, and the other part on for expenses, it's more of an income side, but we do a lot of consumer real estate lending, and we specialize basically in construction loans. So we have 7 other small credit unions like us that we participate our loans out to, and we don't do that via any of the other channels. We just meet people and we share the loans with them so that we can continue to serve our community. And the reason we do it with smaller credit unions is if we participate out to a larger one, all they're going to try and do is focus on our area. And if we're all supposed to rise the tide together and help everybody, to me, it's easier to share and learn within. So by finding somebody like Miss Debbie Kesey out of Spokane Media Credit Union in Washington State, it's just made our life easier. And she actually does our call report for just a couple $100 a quarter. So we all know how hard it is to find somebody to do your call report in this day and age, because people switch jobs and do everything so much. And the younger generation, they don't want to take on that task or that knowledge of it. So.
Great stuff. What about other ways that we've been able to maybe increase our efficiency? Any way that we've also reconfigured our staffing, found other creative ways like Thomas? All right, so then let's talk next about Fintechs and our strategic partnerships. We know we talked about from the beginning the needs of today's consumers and making sure that our cards continue to not only remain top of wallet, but also top of app, and ensuring that we have the availability to get our members the things that they need at the time that they need with our services. And we know that now we have the Venmo physical card. We've seen the market share on Apple Pay as well. So are there any creative ways that you have seen, maybe not even on that side, but concerns that you are seeing with your members using some of these products and ways that you have found to educate them? I know it's been a big topic the last few years around, Reg E and when these things come into play, and who has seen some of this?
Somebody else has got to talk besides me at some point, please. We have started doing drawings with our members where you don't apply in the lobby or take it through the drive-through. We only use members' data that swipe their debit cards. So we've seen a significant increase in debit card usage by mining that data each month, doing drawings out of that data and giving back to members that way. So we advertise it on Facebook and our mobile app, but we found that about 70+% of our members, after they open their account, never come back into the credit union, unless they have a card issue or something like that. So as you see somebody's face that you call them and say, oh, by the way, you know, you've won in our drawing, and they show up to get their $400 or $500 gift, and you post their stuff on Facebook and Instagram and things like that. But just changing our drawing perspectives on giving back to our members and using their swipes that they're doing, we've seen a significant increase in people putting our card more towards top of wallet. So it seems very important that way to us.
By a show of hands, who all has contactless payments right now? One? Okay. All right. Any other payments, fintechs, any other on this topic before we move on? Okay, well then let's bring it back to small credit union world and the support that we can provide as your association. So overall, I'm glad that you all have had the chance to meet our new president, Samantha Beeler, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to take our support to the next level. So overall, I want you all to know that your affiliation and your membership with the league is I have a true passion for making sure that we are servicing all of your needs. So we have the feedback question, and I want to ensure that as we continue on, let me go ahead and just flip to the next slide. There are a few things I want us to discuss today. So we know that in the past, we have held some in-person small credit union roundtables, and then COVID hit, and then it was difficult to travel again. But our feedback has been incredibly saying that everybody is ready to get together in person again so that we can hold events like this. We can network, we can learn from our peers. So with that being said, I wanted to get some feedback from you all on what frequency of meetings like this that you would be interested, and maybe some of those regional locations. So ensuring that it is in a location that, you know, we can hold as many of these as you would like to. We just have to make sure that we have some attendees too. So I want to make sure that we build out this agenda for the needs of your credit union. So as a small credit union, what would be helpful for our in-person meetings, or what other resources can the league provide to help you succeed?
So the one thing I'd say is our emails get slammed with stuff. So the small credit unions, if we have meetings like this, like whoever our rep is, just pick up the phone, and because we're more apt to say yes on a phone call than just 10 emails about the same meeting.
Love
That's
it.
all I'll say.
I'll agree with that as well. Coming from North Carolina, I was fortunate enough to be invited into a group of small credit unions that were meeting in South Carolina. Excuse me. And after I attended 2 of their meetings, which they would meet every 4 months, so 3 times a year, I asked if they would be willing to move their location and include North Carolina credit unions. So they voted almost unanimously to move their meetings to Charlotte, and everyone drove in 3 times a year. We had great participation. We would usually have 30 to 40 people. It would be an all-day event, all day, 10 to 3:30 basically. The first couple hours would be set up where we would have speakers, somebody coming in from the corporate and talk about some certain, new products that they were offering, or have somebody come in from CUNY Mutual and talk, and just different topics. We'd then have a group lunch, and then after the lunch, basically all of the vendors, all of the league personnel would say goodbye, and we would stay as credit union managers and just have just a conversation. And that was incredibly valuable. I mean, we got the great knowledge ahead of time from the speakers, but then just sitting down and talking about the things that were going on at our credit unions, we would talk about 2.5 hours, and it was fantastic.
So I was going to add to that and say that, we do this here with the league, summertime. It'd be nice to have something, I don't know, maybe right after the first of the year, or maybe towards the end of the year. Something where all 3 states can kind of come together, maybe top of Florida somewhere, and do maybe a half day or a full day thing. But I do think it's important that maybe on a quarterly basis, we do something virtual, just an hour session of talking about, little items here and there. I think that would be helpful, but also, and maybe I'm missing this, maybe this already exists, but a contact list, something where we can look up and say, all right, who is a small credit union anymore? Because Thomas, I think we're probably going to lose you in the next year or whatever. So we're going to have to speak up more. And then, who do they serve? What asset size are they? Who do they serve? So we can kind of go on there and say, all right, I'm a healthcare credit union. Who else is a small credit union, healthcare credit union in these, 3 states, just to be able to network or ask specific questions too.
Yes, and great question. And if you are interested in some of these, please reach out to your member engagement consultant. We would be more than happy to provide you with all of that information. Maybe somebody who we haven't heard from yet. What is valuable to you on small credit union resources, and how might we get together again to continue these conversations?
I'll just say that I think we should have a combination of virtual and in-person somehow. The in-person, of course, are much better, but we all can't get together every quarter. So then fill in with the virtual. But I used to belong to a credit union group. I'm in Rome, Georgia, up in the northwest corner. And back when we had several credit unions in the area, the managers and the CEOs, we would get together for lunch once a quarter, and we were able to talk candidly about anything. And that was invaluable. And as a matter of fact, most of them have either merged or retired and then merged. So we still get together for lunch, but I'm the only one that's working. But I still, we still keep in touch. It was a wonderful group.
And I do want to take just one moment to pause and see if we have any questions. We are recording this meeting for some of your peers who were unable to make it that are on the line as well. Do we have anything, Evan? All right. Robbie, it's been a minute since we've heard from you, and I know that you are active in small credit union communities like the CUNA community. So one of the things is really building that out as part of the programming that we have through the council's program. So be on the lookout for that small credit union community through LSCU too. But what are some of the things that would be helpful to you?
Well, how many Georgia credit unions do we have in here? How many state chartered? Okay. And Arno probably knew I was going to say something about this because my dander got up at my last audit. I became CEO of our credit union and we were getting written up for lack of income. We were in the red ink. Okay. So aside from the non-interest income, where do we get our income from? Where? Come on, shout it out. Use your outside voice. Okay. Loans. Well, our loans were in a tailspin. So happens to be one of my areas of expertise. So we worked on turning our loans around. Finally got that going. Happy to say that credit union is now in the black. So that's a good thing. So at our last audit exam, I was told that I was in violation of the legal lending limit. And that changed in 2020. I had no idea. I'm a $13.8 million credit union, small guy. We're basically savings and loans. So when y'all talking about checking accounts, it interests me. Yeah, Diane is but all right. So here's what the change was, just in case you don't know. Our legal limit was based on asset size, and that changed to capital. Well, I went from being able to lend from $13 million to $1.2 million, which was $59,000 per member is what I could lend. Well, that's a half a car now, So I really got my dander up, and I'll say, I'm leading this into this. I work with Sydney on a lot of stuff. I've gotten real close to her over the last few months. Plus, I got involved in the advocacy meetings up in Atlanta. So if you feel like you don't have a voice, because I didn't, as a $13 million credit union, I was like, who's going to listen to me? But got involved with it. I really got in kind of in the face of banking and finance. But Melissa Sneed is up there. She's a great individual. She's also a Georgia graduate. Go Dogs. Okay. You knew I was going to get that in there. So I could almost stand up with y'all guys. I got it reassured on that. But anyhow, what I'm saying is we all have a voice if we use it. And the league is a great resource to partner with them and let them know what's going on, and not just depend on them to take care of everything, but actually get involved ourselves. So that's helped me a lot.
Thank you, Robbie. And I appreciate your candor as well throughout that. And I want to highlight that as well, and that we want to ensure that you all, whether it's yourselves, whether it's your team, whether it's your volunteers, that we are coming to you with opportunities to become engaged and stay in the loop on some of these things as well. Because yes, we have a fantastic advocacy team as part of our advocacy evolution as well. And Sydney is great, but we get so excited when it's not just us lobbying for your issues as well. That means the most, coming straight from our credit unions. Ola, yes, sir.
Good morning, everybody. I totally agree. I think sometimes we think we're small as a credit union. We're limited in what we can do. When you look at the numbers, we're still larger in numbers than the large credit unions. And our voice can speak as loud. The key is we have to be involved. We have to be involved. If we're not involved, then nobody's going to hear us. And that's, for me, that's one of those things. There might be the larger credit unions have the numbers, they have the people, they have departments that see these things. We're very busy in what we do on a daily basis, but we cannot be too busy that we don't get involved. Whether it's in our local chapters, whether it's anything that the league has. I'm glad to see people here at the conference that are small credit union like myself. So let's not marginalize ourselves because we're small. If anything, we can really expand on our size and numbers to basically dictate. And I would say dictate, even dictate to the league to say, this is what we need. I'm a very proponent of, the league having somebody, like somebody said, call me, okay? Come and visit me, because that's how you're gonna find out what I really need. Because many of us are too busy to be able to pick up the phone or email. I mean, by the time you sit down, something else is popping up somewhere else. So I will encourage everybody, forget about the smallness of it. Get involved, ask, speak, and let's not marginalize ourselves to say we are a small credit union. If anything, let's empower each other so that we can have all of these things addressed. And again, and I've said it before, I'm on the league board. One of the things that I'm a proponent of is the league serving small credit unions. We need to do more. But at the same time, we need all of us to tell the league what we need. Thank you.
Wow, thank you for pumping us up like that, Ola. Yeah.
Going back to the recommendations for the small credit union communications, something that I'm seeing is most people here are CEOs or higher management. And we have a lot of young professionals in the credit union world. And as a small credit union, we can't offer amazing training programs like the big banks can and the big credit unions can. So maybe specialized to some of them that are more like in accounting or marketing specifically for small credit unions, because I do marketing, but I'm also in training. And I just feel like we can offer more to grow those upcoming stars. And sometimes we focus more on like the CEOs, but we have a lot of great ideas, so that's one of the reasons one of the suggestions.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing, because you hit on a few great things there. Not only the Young Professionals Program, which we're hoping that regardless of your location or asset size or number of employees, or really any determination, that if you have young professionals within your credit union, that we have that opportunity to get them involved. Also on training, I really love that question. I want to piggyback on that and see if anybody has found something that would also be helpful. Go ahead.
I want to first say that when I said it'd be nice to pick up the phone, Arno and I have a great relationship. So that was not a dig on Arno. Thought about that. I was like, oh man, I hope it didn't hurt Arno's feelings. The training, I was just talking to another credit union around my area yesterday, and we were talking about it would be nice to have a person training on all of our products, our ancillary products, how to sell them, everything like that. And it would just be, one credit union having that, can you really justify the salary of one person? So just like he was saying about a shared employee or fractional employee or whatever. So we talked about maybe doing that, maybe seeing what credit unions in our area would maybe want to pay into a fractional employee on training, because a lot of us have the same products. So they come in, they train on the fee-based checking, or they train on the extended warranties, the gaps, whatever really is bringing the money in. And also, last thing I want to say is we all want to chat and talk and get things through. And I am big about emails get flooded down. So I just don't think there's an email solution. But as far as social media, I know LSCU has an app. If there was some way we could integrate in that app some kind of social media aspect of it, to where we're all a part of a small asset group, so that, when something comes up, you can either get a notification or you can go in there and we can really chat with each other. Maybe a chatting program instead of emails, because I feel my emails get flooded.
Stay tuned. We're on it.
Oh, good.
Perfect.
Well, I wanted to say that I'm part of the CUNA Small Credit Union. What is it called, Robbie? Yeah, community. And if you're not part of that, hop on board, because it is great. There's a lot of questions asked, and you can ask a question. Of course, you need to participate and answer, but it's a great community. There was and I don't know if everybody's a part of all the different councils that have come up. In Georgia, we've always had councils. And when we merged, I guess y'all decided to go ahead and get the councils rolling. So the marketing council, I've got I don't want to say girl, but a woman that works for me. She's part of that. And there's training all the time. So all the different councils, just get your employees involved in the councils. They're very good. And then one real quick thing, I'm really good friends with a big credit union in Atlanta. And we were at a meeting about a month ago, and I said, and it was all credit union women. I think you were there. And I said to another credit, well, we're small. And Debbie looked at me and she goes, you don't have to say you're small. Don't say that. And I said, I'm proud to be small. That's that,
And we all need to be proud to be small. And thank you for hitting on a few things, Diane. Not only the LSCU councils, which hopefully you had the opportunity to attend the first ever councils conference on the front end of this week's activities, but then also that community. That is exactly what we are building out for our small credit unions, using the same technology. So great stuff. Ola, yes, sir.
Yes, we should be proud we're small. In hard times, we can turn our ship around faster than the larger credit unions. we can impact our members faster. There's things that we can do that the larger credits can do. One of the things that we talk about getting together, I think it's essential that we can, if we can find a way to do it. Because the challenges that we face, we all wear so many different hats at our shop that, you know, the regulators expect us to be expert on everything. You know, a good friend that runs about close to $1 million credit union, you know, was always asking me, how do you do it? So how do you do it? She said, because when a new regulation comes into play or I got to do this, I just hire somebody. And we're not in a position to just hire anybody. We have to be the expert. So one of the things I wanted to see is, you know, we talk about getting together. If we can get together, that would really be helpful. Furthermore, regulations, compliance is a big issue. And some of those things are happening so fast that we can't keep up. You know, things pass until the examiners come to our place and say, hey, you know, you didn't do this. And we're like, when did that happen? Like, you know, like it's been said. So it would be helpful, I think, that if we can, maybe earlier in the year, if the league can maybe focus on two things in those areas that are coming up this year. That might be something that would be helpful, because if we can put it on our radar, then we can say, okay, I need to take care of this before my examiners come and say, you didn't do it.
So I was just going to mention, so I'm Heath Dawson. I'm a Southern Pine Credit Union. So we're 42 million. This event as a whole has been an absolute phenomenal thing for us, for just me being able to get to know the league better and understand what they offer. And I know even as I walked in, I was talking with someone and I said, oh, by the way, I found out about a service that the league offers and they weren't aware of it. And it is something that will certainly keep us from losing members. And it's just as an example, the payment solution program that's offered that I believe Jonathan, and I don't remember Jonathan's last name, but Jonathan Wright. So it is something that has come out, and I will tell you, I have spoken with 3 other service providers, and the league has a lot better pricing on it. So just a big commercial there for Jonathan. But for us, we're in a situation where we're about 15 miles from downtown. So when members retire from our meal, they will go back and find an institution that's closer to their house. So being able to have that make a payment button on their website, you know, so we can then talk to them about the convenience. And we're kind of behind the times a little bit. I got there about a year ago and there were some struggles. And in short, we've been able to streamline a lot of things. They were not digital. Everything was paper files in the back. And I'll give kudos to Arno and Karen, because coming from a $975 million credit union to a $42 million credit union, I certainly walked in eyes wide open. And as Olin mentioned, had to wear a lot of different hats that maybe I had not. So, but it's been a great, I did find out more about Lauren, if you guys haven't used her, and then also the young lady that's in Jacksonville that does, also works on audits, Nicole. So I've spent a lot of time talking to league folks. So I appreciate, I know here the event is really set up to talk with the vendors, and I've been able to do that, but I've spent just as much time making sure I connected with the league to understand all the resources that are available to us. And I know I've talked to some other Georgia charter credit unions before, and I don't think they're fully aware of what all the league has to offer. So I appreciate that.
And we appreciate each and every single one of you and your engagement, because without being able to share these ideas and information and get together, this is how we continue to grow. So I want to give one last plug, but I'm pretty sure that we started with Thomas and we're going to wrap it up with a bow and end with Thomas. We do have just a few minutes before the next session will be in here. So I want to make sure that if anybody does want to say something as well, just raise your hand up.
One more thing.
Thomas, if you want to go ahead and head.
Mine's just an easy question. As far as succession planning, are any of y'all linking up with another smaller credit union so that if the manager or the CEO gets sick or there's a disaster or anything, that a like-sized credit union like you can at least fill in, someone else that understands our business can fill in for you? We've we partnered with two other credit unions, smaller credit unions like us. And if something happened to me, one of the ladies from there would actually step into my place, or at least keep the ship afloat, in order, because a small credit union, like everyone says, we all wear so many hats, and trying to go, oh, they're going to merge us away forever, instead of going, hey, why don't we partner with somebody down the street, or in another community or another county, so they can at least fill in to allow the board and them time to find somebody else to keep our credit union going. I mean, we've been there for almost 60 years, and we have two other credit unions. One's outside of our region and one is about 60 miles away, but either one of them would step in if something happened to me, to allow the board time to keep what someone started in 1957 still alive. So.
Well, I'll just say one thing real quick. I did hire someone to mentor. She's my assistant, and I am training her. I do feel like if I was out, she could handle it. But one thing I wanted to say was we just went with CU Audit and Compliance with the league last year, and they are wonderful, and the pricing was great. We saved a good amount of money. I don't have to have an opinion on it. But I feel like I could call Kaylee, that's the person that I work with. If I was out sick, she would help my person I'm training to take my place one day. But if y'all haven't talked to CU Audit and Compliance, do. They are amazing. And they do all of my audits now. And I do want to make a plug to Arno. He keeps kind of trying to come see me, and I haven't been able to see him yet.
One more in the back. Getting my steps in for the last day.
As far as CEO succession planning, we've got a young lady, Liz, that I'm grooming, and I include her in any and every major decision, anything. She gets 3 million of my emails, and she comes to my board meetings. Long time ago at another credit union at 28, they brought me in and attended every board meeting. And so I kind of got groomed through those 13 years, and then that's our plan. We're in Tallahassee, where there's mainly only large credit unions now. Everybody's merged out to another credit union, so it's us and maybe one or two others there. So, but that's our. I just keep her focused on everything, and also our management team, our officers of the credit union.
I've always tried this third credit union I've run. But I've made friends with people that run bigger credit unions, and I know everybody's kind of scared where they're going to come try and take over us. But I've gotten more help from large credit unions that have lots of employees. You know, just an example, last credit union I took over, the accounting was a mess. And I do mean a mess. I'm not an accountant by trade. And I met a CEO of a, $500 million credit union, just talked to him. He's like, do you need help? I'm like, yeah. He sent me a CFO and the second in the accounting department. They spent 3 days and helped me get everything straight. So don't be afraid to make friends with the big guys, and they will help you. They'll always have somebody that's an expert with what you're trying to do, and they'll show you how if you ask them.
And remember that we can make those connections for you here at the league. And I just want to echo what Art mentioned, in that there is the support regardless of geographical location, regardless of asset size, regardless of fields of membership. This is what makes credit unions. So I appreciate it. Any other final closing thoughts? Anything on the Zoom? Perfect. Okay, well, with that, I want to thank you all for attending and for sharing and for being great participants with us. I'm really excited about the opportunity to continue some of this dialogue, so be on the lookout for some follow-up information from your member engagement consultant as well. Never hesitate to, even if you're not sure if we can help out, we know how long the list of all those things are, so never ever hesitate. Even if you think there's nothing we can do, I guarantee you there's at least another credit union that has found a solution we can get with you to. I appreciate it. Remember that all credit unions under 100 million in assets receive the Small Credit Union Initiative funds that can also be used throughout the year. And also remember that the Southeastern Credit Union Foundation is available with scholarships. So I never want to have y'all not be with us if those are the reasons why. So thank you so much. Enjoy the last day of SCUCE.
I am on the